Hello and welcome to Film Companion. I'm Smriti Kiran and I love my job. But there are certain days I love my job a little more than the others, and today happens to be that. I'm sitting in a beautiful suite in New York with Martin Sheen. Thank you so much, sir, for talking to us. I've fully planned to brag about this interview as much as you wanted to brag about meeting Mother Teresa when you came to India to shoot for Gandhi.
Okay, well.
I'm going to start by asking you, what are the challenges of making a film like Bhopal, A Prayer for Rain, which is based on real life incidents? How exactly did you approach this movie?
I only worked in Hyderabad on it in India. I wasn't in London or Mumbai or Bhopal, so I had a very limited participation, but a very important one because I played the American CEO of the company Union Carbide at the time, and so I felt the burden of a truthful portrayal, in that we couldn't get any information out of him. I think he's still living, and he has not uttered a single public statement about the tragedy or his involvement in it or his lack of accepting any responsibility or even apologizing. So we had I think a clear kind of field to present him. We were not interested in making him a villain. We gave him every opportunity to have some input. He never surfaced. In fact, he has never surfaced since he fled India shortly after the tragedy. And so we had a very important responsibility, and I accepted that, and we made choices which we couldn't be factual about his character, but that we had enough information to know that this was a fair and honest portrayal, and so I accepted it, and I hope we did it justice.
Very early in the film, Warren says that entering India was a personal decision for him, and it gave him a real opportunity to combine social responsibility with business. But the moment he hears about the gas leak, the first thing that he does is his first and only reaction is to abdicate any kind of culpability.
Exactly.
So what was your understanding of him? I mean, you had to humanize this character as well as also, do a fair portrayal of showing that there was no apology, there was no coming back, there was no accepting of responsibility. How did you go about creating him?
Well, naturally it was disappointing that this man who was CEO of the American Union Carbide at the time hid so deeply behind the corporate shield and did not step forward and accept some measure of responsibility. He wasn't totally responsible, but he was the voice of Union Carbide in the world. And to have just fled the scene is like a hit and run. And so there was a great lack of courage. And yet at the same time, he played by the corporate rules, He knew and was advised that if he did apologize, if he did try to make amends, that he would be liable for lawsuits and criminal prosecution as well. He didn't stand for either one. He fled. He remained silent. So his guilt is by omission as well as commission. And the former, I think, is the worst.
I'm going to segue a little bit into other aspects of your career. And I don't think you've done a single interview post 79 which hasn't spoken about Apocalypse Now. And what I wanted
sounds very familiar.
Yeah. So what I wanted to ask you was that when you do a film that early in your career that is going to be revered for posterity, does that become a personal benchmark to top going forward?
Well, mind you, I didn't know it at the time. We didn't know that it would become such a landmark film. But if I had known going in what was going to happen while I was there, I would have passed. I think most anybody would with any common sense. But I have no regrets that
you nearly didn't do the film. You forgot about it and went off to Italy to shoot another film, and then
I did, yeah.
And then you had to come back.
Yeah. So it took, from the time I finished it until it was released was 2 years. So a lot happened in those 2 years. The film itself had a profound effect on movie making, basically. I mean, one of the great filmmakers of all time, Francis Coppola, you know. I was very fortunate to have had the opportunity. And the film kind of put me on the map, you know. It was a big career starter for me. So there's no denying that. You know, I have not the slightest regret. I think it's always the most difficult things that are the most expensive, and if they don't cost you something, then you're left to question their value. So this was an extremely valuable moment in my life, and I'm grateful for it. I'm just glad I survived it.
What's your most abiding memory of shooting Apocalypse Now?
I guess it was that company of players. You know, I was extremely fond of all the actors. You know, I just adored them. I got close to Martin, one of my heroes, one of the great actors, if not maybe the greatest cinema actor of all time, and that was very gratifying and personally satisfying. I remember the country. I loved the community of the Philippines. We still have friends there. I've been back several times since.
I believe your entire family visited.
Yeah, they were. Yeah, they were with me for the most of the time
Exactly.
we were filming. Yeah, we subjected them to the same conditions. Yeah, and they were worthy of it. Yeah. No, it was a very formative time and a very challenging time, and we never backed away from it. And I'm very proud of, and I'm happy that I did it. You know. But again, if you said, you can have this part, but this is going to happen in Route, I say, pass. No thanks. All the best. You know.
But it's one of the most defining films of your career.
Oh yeah,
It's influenced generations, and it'll continue to influence generations and generations of filmmakers.
Yeah, it could. Yeah, very good. And you know the difference today, because that's 35 years ago.
Exactly.
Is that they use so many special effects now, but they didn't have them then. So those choppers were really in the air with the players, and all of those action sequences were actually filmed. There was no green screen or special effects, and nothing mechanical about it. It was done, you know. So it would be a whole lot cheaper and a whole lot safer to do it today, but I don't think it would be near as effective. You know?
Well, everybody in your family is in the show business. So what's dinner like in the Sheen estates?
Oh, well, it's a little lonely now because we don't have them living at home, but yeah.
But you've collaborated with all of them. They've been, they're in the movie business.
Yeah.
And so do you guys tap each other for advice? What's it like?
Sure, you know, we're very close and still get together as often as we can. It's difficult. It's more difficult these days because they have families. And
Yeah.
And we have grandchildren, and we have one great-grandchild now, so it's such a large, extended family that it's hard to get everyone together at the same time, but we do, particularly on holidays and birthdays and such. But it's the most gratifying thing for me as a father and an actor to work with them, you know, and I've had that privilege. In fact, I did a film with Emilio just a few years ago in Spain about the pilgrimage, Santiago de Compostela, that he wrote for me and that we filmed on the Camino. And from my point of view, it was the best thing I've ever done, the most satisfying thing I've ever done. And so it's called The Way. And,
I know.
Yeah, and I was just talking to a reporter about that earlier. He hadn't seen it, but he promised me he would, and I promised him he would be changed by it. Yeah.
But, you know, emotionally, obviously, you're close to everybody in your family. But creatively, do you feel closer to any one of them?
No, because, you know, each child is different. They each have different needs. And so you hopefully have an honest relationship with all of them, but it's still different because they have different experience. Emilio was the oldest, and he has a longer and deeper memory of his childhood here in New York City than the others, you know. And yet the others have, we have relationships that are different. but they're all equally important. You can't love one child more than another. You love them differently according to their needs and according to your relationships and what happens to each one of them along the way. That's deeply personal and individual. And so I think that's part of every family and the relationships with siblings and so forth. And so that's the way it is with us, you know.
There's a lot of groundbreaking work which is happening in TV today. It's even surpassed, the work that's happening on film.
Yeah, it's
and you've got a lot of series which are happening, which are being talked about, which are pushing the boundaries. You were part of West Wing. That can never be forgotten, for its writing, for the acting, for just the production. Do you think that was the precursor to the kind of work that is happening today on TV, especially the Netflix series called House of Cards? I don't know whether you've seen that or not.
I have not seen it. I heard a lot about it. And I'm doing a series for Netflix right now. When I started The West Wing, which will be 15 years, September 22nd, that's how long ago we premiered, and it went 7 seasons. Yes. And my initial involvement was just for a few appearances over the first 23 episodes. I was to appear maybe 4 or 5 times, they told me. I did not have a long-term contract. I was called a reoccurring actor because they were not focused on the president or the first family. Yeah. So it was about the staff, the West Wing staff. And when NBC saw the pilot, they realized that that maybe they should explore the possibility of having the guy that worked in that office that everyone could identify with do a few more shows. And so they came back to me and said, would I agree to a long-term contract? And of course I did. I was delighted. And I kind of had a suspicion it was going to happen. My initial response was, I did not believe, and I think most of us involved in the show did not believe that it would work on commercial television. How are you going to sell a liberal political administration on a commercial network selling cars and insurance and pharmaceuticals and who knows what, We didn't think that was the biggest surprise at all, is that it
worked.
It went full throttle. And it was extremely gratifying. Of course, when we started in '99, Bill Clinton was in the White House, and he became an enormous fan of the show. He loved it. And when we came to Washington, we would go 3 or 4 times a year to film on locations, for the seasons. And he kind of just opened up everything for us. We could film all night wherever we wanted. He left the lights on for us, And then everything changed in 2001. With the Bush administration, who were not very liberal, who were not very fond of what we were espousing. You were Republicans, okay, fine. So we thought, well, maybe our days are numbered. Yeah. On the contrary, we became more popular because we were kind of a parallel universe to what the reality of the White House was at that time. And we remained so. And I think in a large, to a large extent, we gave people kind of a fantasy idea and something more to hope for, that this is the kind of administration that really serves the people. This is a deeply a human White House and an administration that serves the needs of all the people. And so that was very gratifying.
I wanted to ask you that when you shifted to New York to make it as an actor, you changed your name from Ramon Estevez to Martin Sheen. If you were debuting today, if you were entering the industry today, would you still do that? No. Do you think there'll be any danger of ethnic typecasting?
Not today, no. In fact, I still have a deep regret that I did that. So, but I never changed my name officially. I just started using this make-up name. Screen name. And I didn't know if it was going to work. But I was having difficulty as Ramon Estevez getting employment anywhere, not just in show business. So although I didn't look, the typical, what you might think of as Hispanic or Latino, still the name kind of tagged me. And I remember when Emilio began to become interested in being an actor, and he said, I'm going to change my name, I begged, oh, please, please don't. I said, you know, there'll be an enormous Hispanic population by the time you're an adult, and you've got to trust it, you know. Don't make the same mistake I did. Don't do that, you know. And so, you know, like Charlie's real name is Carlos Irwin Esteves, you know, and my other son, Ramon.
So there's Ramon, there's Rene, and there's Emilio.
Yeah.
And then we have Charlie.
Charlie changed his name like I did, yeah. But he did it kind of officially. You know? So his children are named Sheen now, you know. And okay, you know, that's part of what I should have expected, you know. It's his choice, he's entitled.
Exactly.
But yeah, I still love the name, and I identify with my heritage. And, you know, my father was my first hero, and his name was Francisco, you know. And he was not pleased about it either, particularly when I started to become known. You know, it bothered him too. He kept quiet about it, but the lads, my brothers, told me he was disturbed by it and kind of wished I hadn't done it. But he couldn't have wished more than I did. It was a big mistake, you know. But it's done, you know. But I still have possession of that name. It's on my passport, my marriage certificate, it's on my driver's license. It's always Ramon, you know. Yeah.
Fabulous. So my last question to you is, you've been working for nearly 5 decades now. You've done it all. You know, you've dabbled in every aspect of movie business.
Dabbled is a good word.
What do you think is the most significant change in show business from the day you started to today?
Well, I think it's the amount of venues there are. When I started, you know, in television, there were only 3 networks: ABC, CBS, and NBC, and the NPR. Not even NPR, that was radio, but PBS. You know, the public broadcasting was just getting started then. So there were just 4 venues. There was Broadway, of course, theater, and I was here in New York for 10 years. Did a lot of that, both on and off Broadway. And there was traveling, you know, a road show, which I did. You go down to take a show on the road, fine. And there were commercials, and that was about it. And today, there are so many hundreds of different venues because of the internet and because of satellite possibilities. And so you have all these different networks.
So platforms have increased.
Everything has increased. Yeah. The number of people involved has exponentially as well. You know, there's a lot more of us, so there's a greater need, but there are far many more outlets, venues, and that is the largest change because everybody gets in on it, and the whole industry is mixed, you know, with its music or live shows or comedies or dramas, hour-longs, half hours, all these different networks, there's just a plethora of possibilities that you can tune in any night. And some people have hundreds of channels. I mean, that's unbelievable. So the possibilities are endless. And then the network, what do you call the computers? What do you call
the internet?
The internet is alive with possibility. Yeah. So you know, there's just that was unimaginable when I started. You know. Those have been the changes in the last 50 years. Did I say 50 years? No.
Yeah.
I'm 50 years old now.
Yeah.
55. All right, I'm 60. Okay, I'm 70.
That's good.
I've been at it for a long time.
A very long time. I want to know what excites you now. What
just about everything excites me. Honest to God, just getting up in the morning and knowing I made it into another day. This is what's left of Martin Sheen, and I fully accept it and love every bit of it. I love every aspect of my life, my family, my career, even my old age at this point. I embrace it. I'm happy as Larry. I'm lucky as the stars, and I couldn't be happier. Honest to God, I just could not have asked for anything more. I could not have asked for anything that would satisfy me more. I'm the luckiest guy I know. And I give thanks and praise every day.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for
Thank you.
talking to me.
Thank you.
And the very best of luck for Bhopal. A prayer
Thank you
for
very
rain.
much. Thank you.
If you enjoyed that conversation, please keep watching Film Companion.
Subscribe to the Film Companion and get your film fix now.